Welcome back on my channel. As I mentioned in the previous video, I would like to test the Duelist PARAGON tree. So after a week of playing on the Massacre, I can say that it is a very satisfying solution. The additional speed of attack and movement makes us feel that our character is very dynamic, which basically cannot be said about a necromancer. But I must mention the disadvantages. It's not so easy to get a series large enough for the effect to be really visible, and after achieving it, you can easily lose it, which unfortunately, for most of the game, we will not be able to use it effectively. So I recommend the Massacre tree in case most of our game is based on farming heavily concentrated areas like rifts or citadel defense. Being in an active party also helps a lot to keep the effect. A good practice is also an additional bonus to movement speed from the warband and to parts of the Windwolf Perfection set. So if you decide on this tree, you must remember that it is quite situational, and in many cases you will not feel its effect. But at the same time, the effect itself is very beneficial, so I think it will be a good solution later in the game where we will have enough points to having several trees at once. Okay, but what about the Duelist? Because that's what this video is mainly about. Let's see. All actives are useful here, but we're most interested in stacking damage and critical chance, as well as increasing the amount to a maximum of 10 stacks, and discharge effect, due to the fact that stacks require the use of skills to activate in combat. So it seems this tree will be more efficient for skill-based necromancer, especially when using a lance or an explosion, but generally anything with a relatively low cooldown. And here it is worth saying that if someone is worried about taking damage and losing stacks, then any shield prevents that as long as it is active. So in the case of Summoner, it is a bonus for empowered skeletal mage. But the thing that interested me in this tree was discharge damage. Exactly, is it better to sweat and avoid damage? Or is it better to let yourself be hit and inflict tons of damage to nearby enemies? Well, let me show you. As you can see, 15k damage is not very impressive, but it's better than nothing. At the same time, the number of stacks has no effect on the amount of damage. You can see it in this example. The other problem is low range, so if someone hurts you from a distance, you won't deal any extra damage to anyone. Although I personally think that the possibility of an additional 10% critical chance is the most important bonus of this tree, which allows for quite a lot of value without using a shepherd set and summons. It is also worth mentioning that Duelist tree works great with such sets as Untouchable Mountebank and Windloft Perfection. However, if you decide to use the second option, and you want to use more than two set pieces to get the second bonus, so I recommend using a shield that blocks 5 consecutive attacks. This way you save the set bonus. An ordinary shield, unfortunately, in this case, does not help, but I must admit that this combination works perfectly for farming the open world. But for that I will make a whole video. It's the next one. Okay, but how does the Duelist perform in dungeons? Many people may be interested in it. And my answer is, unexpectedly good, at least for a necromancer, and we don't even need a shield to keep from losing stacks. As we are a ranged class and we are in a party, the main aggro is not focused on us, and in most cases we will also have at least a few summons. So the only thing left for us is to stay a bit behind and spam skills to get as many stacks as possible. And even if we take damage, we shouldn't worry too much about it because there are so many opportunities to recharge stacks in dungeons, and it is probably here that we have the best opportunity to use the full potential of this tree in contrast to the Massacre, for which making a sufficiently large combo is almost impossible in the case of dungeons. I must admit that both new trees require a little more commitment from our playing, which many people may not like, and they will prefer to stay with the old Paragon trees. But at the same time, if we try a little harder, in return we get bonuses that have not been in game till now. So if you are a person who likes to be rewarded for your efforts, then I recommend you to try one of the two new trees, especially Duelist, if you think that extra crit will be a very good solution for your character. And after playing these two trees, I personally consider the Duelist to be better. For a simple reason, I am able to use its effect in a much greater amount of in-game activity. Massacre needs to maintain a large series, which in many cases is simply not possible. No matter how hard you try, Duelist bonus only needs to use your abilities, so it literally always triggers. And that's why, in my humble opinion, I ultimately consider Duelist to be the best of the new trees. So I recommend checking it out, and maybe you'll find that you want to implement them in your build. Or you already did. You can share your opinion in the comment. And also, don't forget to hit a like button and subscribe to stay updated with the incoming videos. As always, thanks for watching, and check my other movies.